Well, this is just breaking, as a matter of fact. Matt Gaetz has withdrawn his name for consideration for the Attorney General position. I don't know whether or not I'm shocked, to be honest. Look, obviously, he wasn't going to be able to get the support of the Republicans in the Senate. That's what this comes down to. And, it was a perplexing decision to me. Let me say that I supported it. I would have voted for Matt Gaetz. Especially, I think last week I started to talk about this consideration of Matt Gaetz being put forward. And I wasn't, a full-throated supporter. I didn't say that they shouldn't support him. I just said it was kind of a surprising nomination for me. But since the left's reaction, since we've seen those reactions, just, apoplectic over all of this from the left, of course that does make me support him more. So, I've said, look, the left is melting down over this. Matt Gaetz has proven himself to be a formidable opponent to the left in those hearings. What we've seen over there, he's certainly been loyal to Trump. But anyway, now he's withdrawn. And there'll be more to this story. I don't want to get ahead of myself with stuff like this. Everyone's rushing to have some hot take on it, and they don't know anything. They don't know what they're talking about. They're going to have to come in and revise what they've said, disown it, pretend they didn't say it. In a few episodes later, as information comes out, I don't think we're going to find out much more about this. I think it's simply a matter of the Republican Senate opposed him. They put their foot down and said no to Matt Gaetz. J.D. Vance was going and meeting with senators. Matt Gaetz was, of course, going and meeting with senators to try and get their support. And obviously that was not going to manifest itself. But the move is surprising to me. To me, it seems like a little bit of a misstep. This isn't the end of the world. I understand that when we talk, the things that we choose to talk about, that I choose to talk about on this show, they gain additional relevance because we're putting them in the spotlight. So I don't want to blow this out of proportion. This isn't the end of the world. I'm not particularly concerned about this. There are plenty of people out there that will make good attorney generals. But this is a little bit of a political miscalculation in my mind. I don't know. I don't think this is going to hurt. This doesn't hurt Trump in the long run. It doesn't. He's got immense political capital. This was his nomination. And Matt Gaetz is the one who's saying, okay, obviously, this is a distraction. And I just want to remind you about this case. Innocent until proven guilty. What Matt Gaetz, they're, of course, accusing him of doing, and accusing him of doing what they're really doing, and the media is saying they did it. Now, the media has a very bad, poor track record of this type of thing. You had one of the babes on The View, Sunny Hostin, I guess it was, Hostin, whatever, however she pronounced her name. She had to issue a formal, she read a statement because they were going to get sued for defamation because of the things she was saying about Matt Gaetz and this alleged relationship with a 17-year-old years ago. And I would just remind you that the partisan DOJ, the same DOJ that invented hoaxes and worked with other courts throughout the country to try and get Trump, that was the leader of this witch hunt to get Trump, that same DOJ led by the same Merrick Garland that proved himself to be a corrupt hack, a partisan hack, doing the bidding of the deep state and the Democrat Party and the Biden administration. Well, they investigated this for 3 years, these claims made about Matt Gaetz, and they did not have the evidence to press charges. So, just to give you another reminder, you had the House Ethics Committee that was looking into these allegations, and you had the DOJ step in and say, hey, pause your investigation. We, the DOJ, are going to take over. And so then we had an investigation, like Trump-Russia collusion. The DOJ looked into this. It wasn't a special prosecutor, but I'm just saying, okay, these are the allegations. So the DOJ comes in, looks into it, and they don't press charges. They don't bring charges because they didn't believe that their witnesses would be credible on the stand. They didn't think they would survive cross-examination, which tells you that this was a very flimsy case. But anyway, the media is doing what it's doing. I mean, I do worry about this in one sense, and we need to just be aware of this. You know, Trump hasn't even come into office yet, but this does start to set a precedent if we're not careful with some sabotage of his administration and his picks, because they did claim a scalp of sorts. Again, this is not. I'm not ringing alarm bells over this yet, but it's something to pay attention to, because this does embolden the left. Because look, the media and the Democrat Party and these rhinos certainly feel like they have scored a victory, and they have not felt a victory in a long time. They're still licking their wounds after losing the presidential election, losing the House majority. Well, they didn't have the House, but the Republicans maintained a majority in the House. The Republicans took the majority from the left, from the Democrats in this election, and the Democrat Party is weakened. They're in disarray, and for them to get Matt Gaetz to withdraw his name for consideration for the Attorney General race nomination after Trump backed him. Trump was asked, he was walking somewhere, you know, if he would, you know, they were basically saying, you know, are you still going to support? Does these allegations change? And he said no. So Trump maintained his support of Gaetz, and now they've got Gaetz. So just something there. Now look, I'm going to tell you something. I have 0 clips that I'm going to play today. 0. Because I think there's something very important that needs to be discussed in a comprehensive manner, out of not only respect to Laken Riley's family, but because it explains the dire situation we're in the country. It explains the screwed up relationship between us and the government. And, you know, speaking of Gaetz and what happened to him, I mean, we need to get in there and punish this government. We need to bring justice to the federal government, to the bureaucracy, to these elected and unelected officials, both, who are destroying our country. You're going to hear a lot over the next 4 years of doom and gloom from the Democrat Party. There will be nothing positive that comes from the lips of your media and the Democrat Party. Everything that Trump is going to do is going to be terrible, and they're going to try and scare you. You have to resist that. You have to, I'm dedicating myself now, here and now, over these next 4 years to being sort of a vaccine. Maybe I don't want to use that word because they're dirty now, as we've realized with these corrupt pharmaceutical companies and so on and so forth. But you know, we need to develop immunity to this sort of thing. And I will do my best to boost that immunity for you and fight these forces in the face of their lies and deceit and pressure campaigns. Because we need to get rid of, we need to basically take a axe to the government. It needs to be cut down, whittled down, reined in. Departments need to be totally removed and destroyed, eliminated. That needs to happen. And all you're going to hear is, you won't survive without this department. You won't survive with it. We can't survive right now, or can barely survive, because of the government. And as a matter of fact, Laken Riley is dead because of the government. We do not need the government for survival. The government is an impediment to our success and prosperity. And they work for us. And there is this belief out there, especially by Democrats, Trump fired people. You can't fire people in the government. Of course, the Biden administration, they never fired anybody. But you can't fire anybody. Why can't I fire anybody in the government? If you don't do your job, you're getting fired. Just like I get fired in the private sector if I don't do my job, or if I'm corrupt or I lie. You guys don't get a pass. Why do we elevate government officials and politicians above ourselves? This is the problem. See, over the next 4 years, we need to wage a war to reclaim our own mind and sanity. We need to write in our minds what the real relationship is between we, the people, and the government. They are not above us. They do not rule over us. They're not better than us, smarter than us. But I'll get to all of that in just a minute. It's shocking to me that the backwards thinking about our government. I know I'm sitting here. The wheels are turning. But first, actually, let's take a one short break. And we get back, I want to get into what happened to Laken Riley in great detail. Well, for those of us holding our breath for the past several months, we can exhale. You can do it. Work can finally be done on the major issues this country is facing. One of the most significant being what? Our national debt. The fact is our nation's broke. And that debt is a house of cards that cannot quickly be dismantled. So the strategy remains the same. Diversify your savings. All right. That's why I buy gold from Birch Gold. So many things are out of our control, out of our president's control. And it's important to have a safe haven for your savings. Birch Gold Group will help you convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. And the best news is it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Text Daily Clout to 989898. Get your free info kit. And right now, through Black Friday, you'll receive a free 1-ounce silver eagle for every $5,000 purchased. Protect your savings with Birch Gold. Text Daily Clout to 989898 and claim your eligibility for free silver today. And we're back. Now, this is I had a hard time putting this together. And actually, I threw out most of what I had been planning for the show because I think this is that important to take a moment and internalize and understand the what happened to Laken Riley, why it happened, and what her family is going through. Now, Donald Trump, just to preface, has said he will use the U.S. military to deport illegal aliens. And I saw a tweet by Rand Paul who said, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea." Now, look, I generally like Rand Paul. We're allowed to disagree with people. It doesn't mean we hate them. But Rand Paul says he doesn't like the look. It's a bad look to use the military to remove illegals. I think a worse look, respectfully, Senator Paul, is what I'm about to describe in terms of our government's inaction and action both, which got Laken Riley killed by an illegal alien. And I think when you, Senator Paul, and others out there who think this might be a bad look to use the military to get rid of these people who shouldn't be here, who are in violation of our law, I think that maybe we should think about what happened to Laken Riley here and then determine, is it inappropriate to use the U.S. military? And a lot of this, by the way, this idea, the U.S. military, we can legally do it, by the way. It's not a matter of legality. It's a matter of, see, when people think of the U.S. military, because we're so naive, because of the freedom and relative security we've enjoyed here at home. Well, we think that the U.S. military, that can only be used over. We deploy the military outside the United States of America to Afghanistan, you name the place, right? But it's where we go to fight the bad guys externally because we don't have bad guys here in America. Well, we do. We do. And it's absolutely appropriate and in line with the mission of the U.S. government to deport these people who have broken our law, who are killing our citizens, who are cartel members. That is a responsibility of the U.S. military. And after I read this Laken Riley story and talk about and put the pieces together, what we learned in this trial that just took place, I think that we can absolutely use the U.S. military to remove these people. So the murderer's name was Jose Ibarra. And he was just sentenced to life in prison, multiple lifetimes in prison, the way it works. He was not given the death penalty. That was not on the table. So you and I, the taxpayer, will now spend roughly $60,000 a year feeding this monster and keeping him alive. And he's not an American citizen. So we are going to be taking care of this illegal who is a Venezuelan gang member for the rest of our lives. So justice was not really served. So we know he was a Train de Aragua gang member. Now, these people are everywhere in this country. And the U.S. military should be used absolutely to go after these gang members and get rid of all of them. The Train de Aragua gang, of course, they're from Venezuela. Venezuela basically gave us their entire gang. They all left Venezuela and came here to America. This is the same gang organization that you've heard about in Aurora, Colorado, that is taking over these apartment complexes. Well, these same gang members are in Georgia, and one of them is responsible for murdering Laken Riley. Now, Ibarra entered the country illegally on September 8th, 2022, under the Biden-Harris administration. And he came through El Paso, Texas. And you'll discover that El Paso, Texas is a hotbed, if you didn't already know this, of illegal activity. And the media's not going to talk about any of these details, but I am going to. It's necessary. Now, Ibarra came through El Paso on September 8th, 2022, with his wife and their 5-year-old child. You see, Ibarra, the savage that murdered Laken Riley, he was a family man. He was a family man. Look at all these families coming across the border. You know, they just want what's best for them. Economic prosperity. These people are just family people with children and wives. They're good, decent people that are coming across the country illegally. We can't stop them. We have to let them in because, like Ibarra, he's a husband. He's a father. Remember this the next time you hear Democrats giving you that talking point. Ooh, separation of families and, these are families coming across and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, Ibarra was a family man. He fits the same description we hear from Democrats time and time again in defense of illegal immigration. And he did say, as a matter of fact, he was just looking for greater opportunity. And the criteria now, of course, according to Democrats and the proponents of open borders for coming into this country illegally, well, you simply have to be from a place that's less prosperous than the United States of America, which, of course, is every nation. And so if you come from any place that's not the United States, therefore we should accept you in America illegally. And of course, these same people hate America, but somehow they're admitting that America is a great place because everywhere else sucks enough and America is superior enough that by virtue of you not being from the United States, you have a right to come here. Now, Ibarra and his wife and child were bused to New York City. They received taxpayer-funded shelter and meals. And it was there that he and his wife split up. Now, the marriage was a little bit fraudulent. They got married to combine their asylum requests. And then they split up. So this family man now is divorced. And they're in New York City. They're staying at the Roosevelt Hotel, which is a 4-star hotel. And they're getting free, obviously, shelter at a 4-star hotel. They're getting free food. And it's not free, of course. You and me paid for it. We are sponsoring this illegals experience here in the United States in New York City now. And Ibarra was even arrested in Queens on August 31st. That would be in 2023, the following year, I suppose. On August 31st, he was charged with endangering a child. Now, he had his 5-year-old on a scooter, and his son wasn't wearing a helmet. And then Ibarra headed to Georgia to be with his brother, who was also in the country illegally. Ibarra's brother had a fake green card. Ibarra later, he'd be arrested at Walmart in Athens, Georgia for shoplifting, and then he actually skipped his court appearance. But anyway, he was allowed to stay in the country regardless. Now, you might be wondering, how is it that Ibarra, the savage, the murderer, the Train de Aragua gang member from Venezuela, you might be wondering how he got to New York City, to Georgia without a car and without money. Well, we found out how in this trial. You and I, the American taxpayer, paid for his flight from Queens to Atlanta in September of 2023. So think about this timeline. August 31st, he's in New York City, living it up in the Roosevelt Hotel, eating food that we pay for, enjoying shelter that we pay for, and he's arrested or cited. He was charged with endangering his own son, and then he was just promptly released. Well, he got to Georgia because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris helped him get there, and New York City helped him get there. The government helped him get there with our money. Rosa Belli Flores Bello was an ex-roommate of Ibarra that testified. She indicated on the stand at the murder trial on Monday that she, Ibarra, and an unknown number of others flew to Georgia after requesting a free flight while at the Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan. You know, go down, check in with the concierge. Excuse me, I'm here illegally. I was just recently charged with endangering my son. I would like a free taxpayer-funded flight. Where would you like to go, sir? Well, my brother's in Georgia. Okay, you got it. Coming right up. One-way ticket to Georgia. Now, it's. I mean, you should be fuming by now. But if you're not, you will fume soon. So these illegals were being sent to New York City from El Paso, for example, in this case. But New York City was the hub of illegal immigration. And from New York City, they were then being sent to other places in the United States of America. So New York City was actually paying for them to fly into these other cities in the United States. They were providing federally funded, so it was federal money. It wasn't state money. It was coming from the Biden-Harris administration, the federal government, federally funded. They were federally funding one-way plane tickets anywhere in the world, and they called these humanitarian flights. So Ibarra tells the concierge at the hotel, hey, I want to go to Atlanta. My brother's there. Because the brother had talked to him and told him, hey, there's all kinds of economic opportunity down here in the South, brother. Come on down. I'm shoplifting like crazy. There's so many things to steal. Come on down here. His brother, Diego, is also a scumbag, by the way, but I'll get to him in a minute. So anyway, they call this a pre-ticketing system. Ibarra asked for a flight to Atlanta, Georgia, and he gets one, a one-way ticket flight. And he takes that flight on September 28th, 2023. Ibarra went to Atlanta, like I said, because his brother was there. And I want to tell you about Diego Ibarra. Diego Ibarra, the brother, he entered the country illegally through El Paso as well on April 30th, 2023. So actually the murdering savage Ibarra got here before his brother Diego. But nonetheless, Diego found his way to Atlanta first. Now, Diego Ibarra, the brother of the savage, he came into contact with Border Patrol and was released pending asylum after he told Border Patrol he feared returning to his home country of Venezuela. So that's April 30th, 2023. So Diego Ibarra, brother of the savage, encounters Border Patrol in El Paso on April 30th, 2023. And this is catch and release. He tells him, hey, I'm here to apply for asylum. Wink, wink, nod, nod. I mean, that's what the Biden administration set up for me. And so they obviously can't detain him. There's no room for 20 million people to be detained, nor would they be interested in detaining anyway permanently because they want them here. And so they let him go. Okay, Mr. Ibarra, you are here illegally. Your court date will be 3 years in the future on this date. Please come back for your trial and report promptly in 3 years on this date. And of course, they never do. This is what catch and release is. And Trump's Remain in Mexico policy was brilliant, of course, because it prevented this. Okay. Yeah, come in. You want to apply for asylum? Great. Yeah. You have a date in 3 years, but in the meantime, you're not going to wait here in the United States and disappear and never come back, and we're going to lose track of you. You can stay in Mexico. So eventually they'd probably end up going back home because they don't really want to be in Mexico. They want to be here stealing from the American people. But What did Joe Biden do? He got rid of Remain in Mexico right away. This is treason that we've experienced under our government. So, the brother Diego, he was arrested for driving under the influence and without a driver's license. He was arrested a couple more times for shoplifting. And this is the brother, the Savage. And he was just released back onto the streets in Atlanta, Georgia. Imagine that. Now, who was Laken Riley? Well, she was 22 years old. She was in her first year at nursing school at the University of Georgia at the Athens campus. She had previously studied biology in undergrad at the University of Georgia. So this is somebody who had her life ahead of her. She had her head screwed on straight. She knew what she wanted to do. She was pursuing a passion for nursing, for helping people. And she was there during her first year of nursing school. First year of nursing school. And she was out jogging on February 22nd. And unbeknownst to her, she was being stalked by a monster. She fought him off, we found out, for 18 minutes. He was trying to rape her. She scratched his neck. She scratched his wrist. She fought like hell for her life for 18 minutes. 18 minutes. These are the last 18 minutes of her life spent this way, fighting off a monster who's trying to rape her. An illegal who shouldn't be here. Who flew on a federally funded flight from New York City to this place to be with his brother to stalk our daughters. She died after 18 minutes. Ibarra smashed her head in with a rock. The affidavit at the time said she was deformed. She was asphyxiated as well. But she was deformed by the bludgeoning of her skull by this monster, Ibarra. Blunt force trauma, that's what the cause of death was given as, and her skull, like I said, was disfigured. At court, they retraced her final moments. And I want to walk you through these final moments, this time stamp. And if you're a mother or a father out there, I want you to think about your own daughter and your own children. She texted her mother at 8:55 a.m. on the morning of February 22nd. Good morning. About to go for a run if you're free to talk. That's what she messaged her mom. Riley called her mother at 9:03 a.m. And then she started listening to music as she enjoyed a routine run. This was a passion of hers, a way to blow off steam. She was a runner. This was a trail that she frequently ran on. And she's doing what she's always done. She's got her music going, and the trail caught her running at 9:05 a.m. She had her iPhone in her left hand, and she runs out of view 2 minutes later at a minute later at 9:06 a.m. At 9:11, all right, she called 911. And she initiated it through the SOS application on her phone. She was already fighting for her life at this very moment. The call was hung up. Ibarra hung up the phone call. The dispatcher tried to call her back twice, but no one picked up. At 9:24, so at 9:11, she tried to call 911. At 9:24, Riley's mother called her back, and her daughter didn't answer the phone. At 9:38 a.m., her mother texted, "Call me when you can." At 9:58 a.m., after trying to reach her daughter without success repeatedly, her mother texted, "You're making me nervous. Not answering when you're out running. Are you okay?" Imagine being this mother in that moment. She knew something was wrong. Her daughter had tried to call her. She told her mom she was out running. Her mother tries to get back in touch with her, and she hears nothing. She tries and tries and tries, and her daughter never picks up the phone, never responds to her text messages. At 11:47 a.m., nearly 2 hours later, her mother texted, "Please call me. I'm worried sick about you." The trail footage shows her roommates out searching for her. and they reported her missing at 12:05 p.m. A University of Georgia police officer found her body 65 feet from the trail at 12:38 p.m. And she was wearing a Garmin watch that monitored her heart rate, and it stopped at 9:28 a.m. That's how we know that she fought for her life for 18 minutes before she died, before the heart rate disappeared. She had 8 injuries to the left side of her skull and another injury above her right temple. Her brain was bleeding. Ibarra's DNA was found under Riley's fingernails. And the trail camera captured Ibarra shortly before 8 a.m. walking in that direction. He was seen discarding a bloodied jacket and disposable gloves near his apartment on February 22nd at 9:44 a.m. Her hair and DNA were found on the jacket and on the gloves. Your government, they did this. They did this. Their policies did this. I want you to think about this. I want you to remember this. When you hear arguments from the left and the media and even rhinos that tell you that your government is good, that you can't survive without your government. No. Laken Riley didn't survive because of her government. Laken Riley is dead because of her government, because of Joe Biden, because of Democrats, because of these policies. So I don't want to hear any Democrat out there over the next 4 years that's trying to prevent us from doing what's necessary, what is our right, to shrink this government and break it apart. Because we are not benefiting from the government. The government is not protecting us. The government is getting our citizens killed, our daughters killed. And they expect that they don't face any consequences for what they've done. No, the consequences are here. We elected Donald Trump to do this, and we will support him. We will not back down. We will not give in to your threats and your fear-mongering. We have one job to do, and that's to take back our country because we are not safe, because the government is big, because the government is corrupt, because the government is filled with stupid ideologues, with evil creatures, not much different than Ibarra himself. All right, we're going to take one more short break. When we get back, I want to weigh in and get into more of changing our view of the government. And we're back. Drew Allen, your Millennial Minister of Truth, back with you. I mean, it's astonishing. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Discover Native Path Collagen. A collagen formula is scientifically backed to increase bone mineral density, accelerate tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, and strengthen weak or damaged nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with all these benefits? Native Path Collagen, it's a single ingredient formula with no fillers, no additives, no artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity, ensuring safety. Completely flavorless. Native Path Collagen can be added to anything, all right, to coffee, to smoothies, to oatmeal, you name it. And the greatest thing is its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, which means it's absorbed more easily and it mixes without clumping. No clumping. Native Path offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands with over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee. Native Path is a trusted choice. Right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout, you can stock up on Native Path collagen for up to an incredible 45% off today, plus free shipping. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free today. Visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout and start your transformation today. And we are back. Drew Allen with you. I really want to talk about this because this is what we're going to be bludgeoned with by the media and the left. It's the same people, right? When we get to a government shutdown, oh, fear, we can't shut down the government. You can't survive without your government. This is the thinking that must be corrected. We are having a hard time in this country because of the government. The government is not our friend and savior. It's the problem, and we need to start eliminating it. It needs to fulfill only its constitutional role, nothing more. And you'll find that we will thrive without the government because they are not keeping us above water. They're pulling us down below, drowning us. And the main thing is this. You must remember, you must fight the decades of not just propaganda, but indoctrination. You don't work for the government. The government works for you. You are paying for the government. You are their boss. So treat them accordingly. Don't put them on a pedestal. They work for you. Hold them accountable. Hold them to standards. If you don't do your job at work, you get fired. There are repercussions. But these people are held wholly unaccountable. And we just let it go, by and large, because we don't view them as our employees. The government works for us. Let that be a mantra in your mind. And it's just stunning to me how wrong Americans' views have become about their government, how backwards it's become. It's just this backwards thinking on government. We can't survive without the Department of Education. We actually did much better before we had a Department of Education. And now our kids can't read or write, and they're pushing a disgusting agenda in our schools. And we're suffering. Oh, you can't get rid of that. You won't survive without. We need the department. No, we don't. Our government cannot carry out the basic functions that it's required to. I mean, it can't fulfill its constitutional obligations, much less all these other roles that it doesn't have the constitutional authority to engage in. And we have lost control of our government. That's what's happened over this period. It's grown so large. This is part of the problem. It's grown so large, that it can operate in secrecy, and it can be held. It can escape accountability, because how can you hold it accountable? The federal government should be small enough that the executive, the chief executive, the president of the United States, can keep track of it. That's how small it should be. Okay? And the larger the government gets, the more, of course, it splits its focus in all these other areas, the less prepared it is to fulfill its basic obligations. It gets distracted. It requires too many resources that come from us. We pay for all this. So the bigger the government is, the less money we have. That's the reality as well. And I mean, I wish I had actually gotten this one clip. It's okay. But Milton Friedman was interviewed about the government. I don't know how long ago this was. I mean, a while back. And they go through this list with him. Would you get rid of this department, that department? He's like, yes, yes, yes. And he says, why? And even back then, he understood that we do not need the government involved in transportation. We don't need them involved in education. We don't need them involved in agriculture. We don't need them involved in all these things, because everywhere you look, it's government interference and intervention that is the cause of our problems. They need to focus on national security. They need to focus on the border. I mean, the border is a responsibility of the federal government. And yet, what is the government doing with that responsibility? Not only are they failing to do that role, but they're actively undermining the role itself. But they should, obviously the government should be devoted to maintaining peace, diplomatic relations with the rest of the world, strengthening alliances. But let me say this about the government too. And look, this is really just almost like a fireside chat today, because it's just a lot of these things on my mind. It's really forward thinking in terms of what we're dealing with here, but it's very important in my opinion. And, I've scribbled down some things that I want to get to. I went through the timeline of Laken Riley. But I just don't want to miss some of these important points today. What is the role of government? Why does it exist? Why do we have a government? Ask yourselves that question. What is the role? The government's role is to basically do those essential things while giving us maximum freedom to enjoy our lives and work. I mean, that's it. It is there to just give a structure to take care of national security so that we can enjoy maximum freedom, so that there's no anarchy. But that's it. The government is not supposed to be providing all these things for people. It's not supposed to be involved in this and that and education. All the government exists for is not to take away our freedom, not to bombard us and drown us in red tape, bureaucratic tape, not to put a leash around our neck. That's not the reason we have a government, especially not in this government, in this country. It's a necessary evil. All right, we need you to make sure the country's safe. But your only role as the government is to create these circumstances that we can thrive in the country and enjoy maximum freedom. And we do not have maximum freedom, not even close to it today. This is the fundamental problem. So remember this about the government. The government doesn't exist to do all these things for you. It's just supposed to make sure that you can live your life without a lot of interference, but with safety. So you have police, and you have these things, and you have courts, and you have whatever. So criminality isn't running rampant. And yet, with all of the government's intervention, we are less safe than we've ever been before. We are more threatened than we've ever been before. We are less prosperous in many ways in our lifetime than we've ever been before. And you're going to hear from the Democrat Party how insane it is to get rid of a government, department. This is the backwards thinking. And this is what you're going to be tempted to say. They think they have the higher ground. They say, you're insane to try and get rid of these government departments. No, you are insane for trying to keep these government departments. Why would you keep a government department that not only is unnecessary, but it's failed and failing? The insane thing over the next 4 years is to accept the status quo, to keep these things in place, not to demand radical reform and even elimination when it's not necessary. And if we do have any of these departments, they should be very small, very, very simple. And you have all these people out there that, of course, think that we cannot survive without government. And that just kills me. It really does. It really does. Now, there are 15 executive departments. I want to walk through the federal government with you today. Just want to spend a little time on this. There are 15 executive departments. You're familiar with a lot of them. The big ones you've heard of, all these names you're seeing in the news, right? You got the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of Agriculture, the Secretary of Transportation, the Secretary of Education and Energy, and on and on. Now, Health and Human Services. Now, beyond this, you've got federal agencies and sub-agencies, and the truth is, this is shocking too. Do you know that nobody really knows how many federal agencies there are? And these, by the way, are the agencies that are writing the regulations that are affecting and restricting your life and my life. It's not Congress. It's these agencies. These agencies are a direct threat to your freedom and prosperity. And there are probably somewhere between, north of 450 of these agencies out there. Think about that. 450 of these agencies out there, which is insane. But I want to talk about these agencies, just the big ones. Department of Education. Why do we need it? Why do we need the Department? What is it doing? What is the Department of Education doing in this country? Nothing good. Nothing good. And I'll get to some of the stuff in a second. But first off, it was only established in 79. It opened its doors in 1980. So it was a Jimmy Carter thing. So how did we survive before 1980 and 1979 without the Department of Education? You see how irrational the thinking has to be to accept this radical, stupid mentality that we can't survive? We can't. How did everyone survive in the past without it? If we can't survive. How are our parents alive? Because they went through their lives without the Department of Education. And I think it's funny, I mean, first and foremost, there's a constitutional matter. The federal government doesn't have any constitutional authority or role in education. It doesn't. It's a states and local rights issue. And the education department will say, in their defense, well, we only contribute 11% of the $1 trillion spent on public school. Great. Exactly. We don't need you. You're gone. Bye. You're making an argument for you ceasing to exist in the first place. And the Department of Education is involved in college too, by the way. They're responsible for handing out these loans that inflate the price and cost of college, by the way. They're the ones behind the effort, the Department of Education, to rewrite, the different title legislation that, for example, allows biological males to compete against biological females in sports. That's your Department of Education. They're the ones pushing boys and girls bathrooms, pride flags, Pride Month celebrated in public schools. So this is really what the Department of Education is up to. This is what they're up to. Okay, but we're going to take one more short break here. When we get back, we're going to close out talking about Washington, D.C. bureaucrats, flesh and blood. Why people believe that someone working in the federal government is smarter than someone local. All right, more after this. Natural disasters are the new reality, folks. From the Maui fires to Hurricane Helene, we're seeing catastrophic disasters take out entire towns in 24 hours with minimal warning, resulting in a lack of basic resources. I get it. We're wired to think it won't happen here. And then in a blink, you're in survival mode. Be prepared in advance. That's your best defense against the unexpected. And clearly, we cannot rely upon our government if you've been listening to the last 30 minutes of this show. The wellness company's emergency kits completely remove the gatekeeper and subside panic by providing you with a personalized mini pharmacy in the convenience of your own home. Bacterial infections, staph, bite wounds, UTI, strep throat, respiratory illnesses, you no longer have to be at the mercy of someone else to help you. You keep a fire extinguisher in case of a fire, right? Well, it's probably a good idea to have some basic medicines in a safe place in the event you need them. It's the same mindset, just a different product. You fill out an intake form, pharmacist reviews and approves it, then you receive the kits in 2 weeks. That's how easy it is to get this emergency kit. It's fully digital. You can do it from your couch. And the medical board approved guidebook crafted by Dr. Peter McCullough tells you exactly what to do. This is preparedness simplified, and invest in your family self-managed insurance plan. Visit dailyclouthealth.com and use code Drew Allen, that's me, and save 10% and get free shipping. And it's a USA residents only. And we're back. Drew Allen bringing the heat again to close out. Why do we need these federal agencies to oversee every aspect of our life? What is it about a federal agency that's in D.C. that is somehow going to be effective in helping Florida, Massachusetts, Texas, when all the states are different and they're diverse and they have different problems? So why would are people that work in the federal government by virtue of working in Washington, D.C. for the federal government, are they just geniuses? Is this what we're supposed to believe? That these people are somehow elevated? No, they're not. Look at the government. It's populated with these stupidest people on planet Earth. You are smarter than 99% of the people working in your federal government. That's a fact. And yet we are sitting here, okay, well, I got to take order. No, you work for me. You screwed up. You're fired. I want your scalp. So let's just stick with education, for example. Why would you trust some bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. to make decisions about your kid's education? Why would you do it? What is it that makes that person in D.C. qualified? Why does that raise someone's IQ? And are these people in D.C. smarter than your state representatives, than your local government and your local school board and so on and so forth? No. How can somebody in Washington, D.C. at the federal level know what's best for the thousands of public schools across this country in 50 different states that have different issues and needs and poverty rates and so on and so forth? They can't do it. It's a stupid, redundant, it's not just redundant, but it is redundant because, of course, you have the states overseeing their own education, but then you have this added layer of bureaucracy that trumps your state governments with their federal dollars. We have to get the federal government out of education. It's killing our schools. I mean, it's just a basic question. I don't know why this is so hard for people. Who is more likely to do a good job overseeing your kid's education? All right. Is it someone who lives in the community and knows the kids and knows the problems and encounters them daily? Or is it someone in D.C. that's never been to your city, never been to your school before? Are you getting the point here? And I love it. Axios in their reporting about Trump's promise to get rid of the Department of Education. They say it's an effort to strip the federal government of any ability to do good. See, this is the ideological battle. Are you seeing it? Am I making sense now? Axios, left-wing rag. If you destroy, the government can only do good. The government can only do good. Everything that is created, it's not corrupt. It's not intended to force an agenda, to recruit Democrat voters and destroy our political. No. Everything the government does, especially under Democrat leadership, it's intended to help. That's why FEMA employees skipped over Trump houses in North Carolina. That's why they did, because that was for your good. You're paying FEMA with your federal dollars, and these employees are only giving assistance to Democrat supporters. See, that's just your government in action doing good. It's doing good, fighting to make sure that, your daughter competes against men in college. That's the government in action doing good. Boys in skirts in your daughter's restroom at your public school, sexually assaulting your daughter. Yeah, that's the government in action just doing good. We have to take back our country from these monsters in our own government. And you need to fight back and not give in to the fear tactics. Not give in to the fear tactics. You are going to be better off without these government agencies. They are not helping you. They're not doing anything for you. And the idea that we can't, if something's failing, you have to try something different. The private sector, this happens all the time. You have bankruptcies, you have companies that go out of business, but the government, they fail and they never go out of business. They just keep growing. And every year you add to that number of federal agencies that we don't even know how many there are, but more than 450 probably. And it's all waste. It's endless. And Congress is responsible for this too, because they keep funding it. They don't ask any questions. They just keep throwing money at it. Your money and my money. It is time we realize that we are paying the bill. We are paying their salaries. It doesn't matter if it's spread out over 300 million people or how many taxpayers there are. It doesn't matter. It's your money and my money, and we have to start thinking about it that way. The Department of Education, what are you doing over there? They need to take the heat. We need to bring the heat. Hold them accountable. Not just assume that everything they do is great and good, because it's not. The literacy rates have plummeted in this country. You're responsible for it. Answer. We need more money. No. You're fired. You're gone. This is gone. In the private sector, they can destroy the country and our economy with their policies. And you lose your job and get laid off. With COVID, they did lay you off your job. Most of us. We didn't have employment because they shut down the country and the country. Government employees still got paid, of course. They didn't care. Many people didn't get their jobs back after the economy was reopened. They didn't care. That was for your good. But the government, you can't fire government. You know what? I got an idea for you, like you tell us. Go learn how to code. All of you people at the Department of Education, No, you're gone. You don't have a job tomorrow, and I don't care. Go learn how to code. It's time you stop. It's time you get a real job. How about that? It's time you get a real job. I'm not paying your salary anymore. Over there, the Department of Energy. What are you doing? Oh, creating policy to make everything more expensive and unaffordable for me? No. I'm not. You're fired. Get out of here. You're not doing a net good for my life. And this is the attitude we have to carry with us as we go forward. But just remember, every time you hear the government, yeah, they're so good. You can't survive without the government. You tell people that Laken Riley would be alive without her government. You tell people that Laken Riley is dead because of her government. And that's true across the board in many ways for what's happening in this country with the government. They don't create, they destroy, and we need to destroy them so that we can thrive again. All right, this is Drew Allen, your Millennial Minister of Truth. God bless you all, and until next time.